Remnant II is one of the most unique games ever made, with intense action, beautiful graphics, and amazing RPG elements. But the game is not perfect, and there are several core issues and things that you must know before you buy it. But Remnant is an action RPG that takes place in a dark, post-apocalyptic world filled with terrifying creatures and powerful bosses. You play as a survivor in a world completely overrun by otherworldly monsters. Your main goal is to fight through various dimensions, uncover ancient secrets, and ultimately save humanity. The game will feature a great blend of intense combat, exploration, and deep storytelling. The world of Remnant 2 is mysterious and dangerous. The game's nature is heavily influenced by the mix of procedural generation and handcrafted design, meaning that no two playthroughs are exactly the same. One of the absolute best features of the game is the focus on the cooperative play, and while you can play the game entirely solo, it truly shines when playing with friends, as you can strategize together, combine your skills and abilities to overcome the toughest enemies and bosses. But in terms of the main gameplay, it is all about exploring dangerous environments, battling hordes of enemies, and facing off against the hardest bosses. The game will combine elements of third-person shooting with RPG mechanics, offering a good mix of intense combat but also strategic planning. You must survive in a hostile world, improve your character by collecting loot and upgrading your gear, and ultimately defeat powerful enemies and progress the story. This means that the game will cater heavily to you if you enjoy challenging skill-based combat, but also with a strong emphasis on exploration and character progression. One of the strongest points of the game is the combat system, and it is truly fast-paced and requires constant awareness and adaptation to your surroundings. You will need to dodge attacks, find cover, and carefully manage your ammo and health. The game's enemies are also varied, each with their own attack patterns and even weaknesses, which also means you will need to adapt your strategy depending on the situation. For example, you might face a group of smaller enemies that swarm you, forcing you to focus heavily on crowd control, or you could encounter a single powerful boss that will require precise timing and pattern recognition to defeat. Now, when you first start playing the game, you want to focus on the basic mechanics. This will be the shooting, the dodging, and using consumables like health packs. However, as you progress, the game will introduce way more advanced tools and mechanics that add a ton of depth to the gameplay. For instance, you will unlock a variety of weapons, each with very unique characteristics. Some weapons will have really high damage but slow firing rates, while others have fast fire rates but deal less damage per shot. The game also includes an intricate upgrade system where you can improve your weapons, your armor, and even your character's abilities. As you then collect materials from defeated enemies and explored areas, you can use these materials to upgrade your gear, making you stronger and better equipped to handle tougher challenges. Additionally, the game offers a ton of different mods and perks that you can attach to your weapons and armor, providing very special abilities like increased damage, faster reload times, or even healing effects. Now, as you can probably imagine, with all these mechanics, it means that the game has tons of replayability. Then on top of it, you add the game's procedural generation system that ensures that every playthrough is actually quite different. There'll be new enemy placements, loot, and even changes in the environment. This randomness also means you can play the game multiple times and still experience something new. The co-op mode also further enhances that replayability, as you can team up with your friends and help or slightly troll each other. So the overall gameplay mechanics are designed to be challenging, rewarding, but also highly replayable. This can be seen in a combination of intense combat, deep customization, and the procedural generation that keeps the game fresh but also engaging. And that brings me to my next point, the game's progression system. And it is designed to steadily increase the difficulty and complexity of the game as you advance, from the early stages to the end game. So when you first start out, you start with very basic weapons and armor, and you face pretty weak enemies. Your main focus will then be on learning the combat mechanics, exploring the world, and collecting resources to upgrade your gear. As you then defeat enemies and complete objectives, you'll gain experience points and materials that allow you to enhance your weapons, armor, and abilities. And then through the mid game and especially the end game, the challenges will become way tougher. Enemies are stronger, bosses have way more complex attack patterns, but the game also introduced way more powerful and rare loot. So by this point, you have access to many types of weapons, mods, and perks, so you can customize your character to suit your preferred playstyle. Another key part of the game is the storyline, and it'll guide you on your journey through this dangerous world. The main story will focus on your character's quest to stop the spread of otherworldly monsters, and of course, save humanity. As you progress further into the story, you'll uncover ancient secrets, meet many types of characters, and learn about the world's history and the forces that threaten it. What you'll also notice is that exploration is a massive part of the game, and while the game is not fully open world, it will consist of large interconnected areas that you can explore freely. Each area you find will be filled with hidden paths, secret rooms, and various enemies. But then again, the procedural generation will ensure there's something slightly different every time. But by thoroughly exploring each area, you'll uncover powerful upgrades, unique mods, and other rare resources that help you progress throughout the game. Now, I want to dive deeper into some of the most unique and best features of the game. The first one has to be the procedural generation, which sets the game apart from many other action RPGs. So unlike traditional RPGs, where the levels and encounters are designed to be the same, in Remnant 2, the world is dynamic and ever-changing, changing, where every time you start a new game or revisit an old area, the layout, the enemy placement, and even the events will be different. So this procedural generation not only affects the environment but also the narrative elements, where the game's storyline can branch and change depending on the path you take and the choices you make throughout your journey. For instance, you can actually encounter different NPCs, bosses, and even side quests in every playthrough, which can lead to quite varying experiences and even outcomes. Another standout feature is the cooperative mode, and while the game can be played entirely solo, it truly shines when you team up with friends, where you can combine your unique skills and strategies to tackle the game's toughest challenges. But of course, it doesn't get easier with this, as every number of player will increase the difficulty of the game, making teamwork and coordination essential for success. So as you can probably imagine, with the procedural generation and the cooperative multiplayer, combined with all the other mechanics we already mentioned, that is what makes the game truly stand out from all the others, as it creates a game that is both challenging but also with endless replayability. And that brings me to my next point, the game's difficulty. So as you can probably imagine, with all these mechanics, this game can be quite challenging, and especially for newer players. This game will not hold your hand, and you'll have to learn a lot through experience and trial and error. And this won't just be the new player, as even the most experienced players will sometimes find themselves overwhelmed during a tough boss fight if you don't pay attention to the enemy's attack patterns. It's definitely balanced in a way that it caters more to the hardcore player who can really enjoy a difficult skill-based combat. However, if you are a more casual player but you are willing to put in the time to learn the game's mechanics, it can still be a great game you enjoy. And while the game does not have traditional difficulty settings like easy or hard, the game's challenges will increase naturally as you advance throughout the game. But if you're a new or more casual player, playing with friends could be a massive benefit. Now, let's talk about the graphics, the sound, and atmosphere. And as you can tell by this video, the graphics are truly impressive and really bring this dark post-apocalyptic world to life. The environments are detailed and atmospheric, with each area having its own unique look and feel, anywhere from the eerie forest to the desolate ruins. This visual design really helps to create a sense of danger and mystery, making you feel immersed in the world as you explore its many secrets. The sound design is equally as impressive, with ambient noises, enemy growls, and weapon sounds, all adding to the intense gameplay. The music is subtle but fitting and will quite often intensify during combat or important moments. So together, the graphics, sound, and music really work together to create a deeply immersive atmosphere that pulls you into the game world. However, the game is not perfect, and there are several pros and cons that we must cover. The first pro has to be the challenging but rewarding gameplay. The combat system is highly engaging and requires both skill but also strategy. And if you can enjoy difficult encounters, you will find this game truly rewarding as you overcome the most challenging enemies and bosses. The next pro is the procedural generation that ensures that every playthrough is unique, with different enemy placements, environments, and even loot. This keeps the game fresh and adds significant replayability, and is overall great for multiple playthroughs. And the final pro is the deep customization and the cooperative mode. The game offers a wide range of weapons, mods, and character upgrades, really allowing you to tailor your character to your preferred playstyle exactly. Then on top of it, you add the cooperative mode, which makes the game way more enjoyable and also easier to handle during difficult moments. And now for the cons. The first con has to be the steep learning curve. This game will be quite challenging when you first start out, and especially if you're unfamiliar with similar game types. The game will not provide much guidance, and you must learn a lot through trial and error, so you must be prepared for that. And the other con is the balancing issues. So the randomness of the procedural generation can sometimes lead to unbalanced encounters, where certain areas or bosses can feel incredibly difficult or way too easy, which can sometimes lead to some frustration and issues. But with all that said, let's grade the game. And Remnant 2 earns an amazing 9 out of 10, and for several reasons. The game truly excels in providing challenging, skill-based gameplay that is both rewarding and engaging for those who enjoy intense action and strategic combat. The procedural generation system is another standout feature, ensuring that each playthrough is quite unique and feel fresh, really boosting the replayability. Additionally, the co-op mode is another highlight, where you could team up and help or troll your friends while tackling the toughest challenges. However, the game does have its drawbacks. The steep learning curve and the lack of guidance can make it quite difficult for new players to get into, and the game is definitely more suited to hardcore gamers who are willing to invest the time and effort into mastering the mechanics. Additionally, while the procedural generation adds a ton of variety, it can sometimes lead to repetitive gameplay or even unbalanced encounters. However, if you can enjoy a game that will truly challenge you, that requires strategic thinking and skillful combat with insanely unique features and cooperative play, then Remnant 2 is a must-buy game for you and is absolutely worth your time and money. For more amazing games, click here.